Hello, I'm Justin,
Hey.
founder of this is an introduction part. But yeah, I appreciate that. I'm gonna keep it. Hello, I'm Justin Lin, founder of BKC. Since starting Relief Market during the pandemic, we've been raising money to help support artists in the community, and there's basically no work out there for artists. So right now I'm joined by Taylor Antisdel, a cinematographer, director, photographer, general man about town, has been showing some really excellent black and white prints on Relief Market. So we're really excited to have a chat with Taylor and take a peek behind one of our favorite images from the shop. So hey, Taylor, what's up, man?
Hey, happy to be here.
All right. So do you remember that we actually met last year?
Yeah, I was shooting a promo video for Lomography, and you were nice enough to lend us your studio as well as be featured in the piece. So that was
Yeah,
fun.
unexpectedly, but I was there anyway, just trying to
Yeah.
help. So you've been working with Lomography for how long?
I mean, Birgit is a friend of mine, and she's tapped me twice to kind of come in and help out on some of their product shoots for new lenses that they have coming out. So the last time was in service of a Petsful, I believe it was the 55. It could have been the 85 for a Kickstarter video for them. So yeah,
Right. So you're doing
freelance.
freelance work then, huh? So can you just summarize a little bit about basically how your last few months have been going? You don't have to get into all the great details, but how have you been spending your time?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I'm sure for everyone. At first, I kind of was cautiously optimistic and hoping that it would be a shorter lived reality than it has become. And I had one last job on March 1st. And since then, there's been no work due to COVID and safety concerns. So, I think it took me um, a couple of weeks to really kind of figure out what my new schedule and my new creative life was going to be. And, for better or worse, it allowed me to focus on a lot of projects that I'd put to the side or felt like I didn't have enough time to really sink my teeth into. And some of those actually have come to fruition. And so I've been, happy that I've had this time to focus on work that I feel is a better expression of who I am, and um, and it feels good to feel productive. I think that is what is a big mood stabilizer for me. And so those first 2 weeks were kind of tough because I just didn't feel productive and I didn't feel the motivation or the drive to, and then realize that at a certain point I couldn't just kind of sit and feel sorry for myself. So what it was like super helpful, I think, also was talking to other peers in my community and understanding that there was a lot of people in the same place. And then it felt like the energy kind of amongst us built and built everyone else up, and built me up too, to a point where I felt creative again. So it's been a really interesting journey. I still feel pretty confused about this new reality, but happy to be making things.
You said that you've been making things that are more akin to who you are.
Yeah,
Can you explain that for me?
sure. I think a
Who
lot
are
of the
you
work that I've taken, who am I? I've changed so much. You know, a lot of the work that I have been involved in the past has been meaningful to me. And I'm semi-choosy about the jobs that I take. But there is a financial aspect to those pieces that is a driving force a lot of times. And for me, a lot of the work that I've been focusing on is textural. And that's work that I think is harder to sell. It's harder to get eyes on. And there have been more eyes on it because people are at home. And in a way, that's been a gift for me, because some of those, like, longer textural pieces, I had a collaboration with this artist called Pure Abyss, and he made this beautiful track that I made visuals to, and it's an 11-minute, super slow visual piece that I think in other circumstances wouldn't have gotten the eyes that it got this time around. And those are the sorts of projects that I feel really excited about, because it now feels like possible, one, for me to take the time to do that, and two, to have a platform and an audience that might actually appreciate something like that, and something that's going to slow everyone down and take a little bit more time to unfold. But yeah, those sorts of examples are really exciting right now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like now is the best moment to embrace an 11-minute slow moving video textural piece.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the other thing that was cool was just telling people, like, just put it on in the background
Mm.
and work, and then pay attention to it when you can. And it felt, I don't know, it doesn't that doesn't it's not possible in a lot of other situations, but people are at home, so it's like, throw it on your TV,
Mm-hmm.
let it wash over you, and if you need 2 minutes of meditation, take a look, take a listen. Those sorts of things are really exciting to me. So
Cool. So I wanted to talk about some of your photographs, actually. So you're mostly a cinematographer, correct?
correct, yeah, and a filmmaker, and I do a lot of different jobs depending on the project, but mainly my focus has been cinematography and directing. Correct.
Got it. So in this context, showing the still image, has really found it remarkable, some of the images that you were sharing. So let me go ahead and open up the site, and then we'll just talk a little bit about some of these works. So all in black and white.
Sure.
Any particular reason?
I find that I'm drawn towards black and white. I really like contrast. I really like shadows, and those seem to really sing in black and white. I don't know. They also feel more cinematic inherently to me. So I've kind of always been drawn, at least on my photo work, towards black and white.
This image we got a lot of great feedback on.
Yeah,
And it was a pretty big seller. A lot of people wanted to pick this one up.
cool.
What happened here? Tell me about, like, what was it that enabled you to capture this particular expression?
Sure. This was in Seoul, South Korea. I was there for the Winter Olympics, and we had a day off, and me and the the DP, I was like a second cam or third cam operator on that one. And so me, another camera operator, and the DP were walking around Seoul, and we saw the street performer. And I stopped for 2 seconds, grabbed 4 shots, and this just happened to be one of them. And I didn't. A lot of times I try not to, like, look at my shots. Most of the time I'm shooting digital. I like to shoot film too, but in this instance, on jobs I always bring some sort of camera with me, and I had this, Sony A7S2, so it was more for video. And I snapped a couple of shots and kept moving, and didn't look at it until that evening, and felt like really excited. The texture of the fire, and I think the reactions of everyone in the back is something that I just particularly enjoy looking at. It's I like it. It's a good one.
One of those photographs that I would call rewarding.
Completely.
I would call that in class, because it rewards looking deeply. I love the try Korean traditional food sign in the background. I
Mhm.
find that to be a really pleasant kind of balancing act, where you're
Right.
looking at all these different layers of perspective, interests. It's very, very dynamic, and yeah, and it's just sort of indicative of that moment for you. I think that I can totally relate to seeing it hours later and just being like, Okay.
Yeah, I had no idea that I had that. I had a lot of photographs that I had taken that day, and sometimes they're the ones that you don't expect to be interesting end up being super interesting. I love that. That's definitely one of my favorite parts is the discovery afterwards and the happy accidents, and everything kind of lined up and we just kept moving. And yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what you kind of look at in terms of the future for you. I mean, I know that you've been changing a few things about your, um, I guess maybe your portfolio. Is that what you've been kind of working on lately? Uh, can you extrapolate and tell us what you imagine the future to look like for yourself?
It's a hard question.
Mhm.
I don't know what the future holds. I've been working towards getting my own kit um, dialed in a way that I'm going to be really self-sufficient in a way that I haven't necessarily been in the future or in the past, in hopes that I think there have been, conversations that I've had with peers about, one-man band situations or very small crews popping up, dropping in, getting interviews and B-roll, and then kind of drop shipping footage to other places. And that's one of the focuses that I've had in this kind of quarantine, is just like getting a kit together that feels a little bit more comprehensive than before, where I was pretty reliant on a lot of other people to make things happen. So that's been a new reality, which is interesting. I think, other than that, it's working with people that I really enjoy working with, and without the assumption that there's going to be some sort of financial reward at the end of it. And I've been reaching out to a lot of people that I've been meaning to reach out to, and music collaborators and other directors and DPs. And I think that that has really deepened my appreciation for collaboration, but it's also provided a host of new problems that I have to solve. And generally, I like to kind of be in control, and giving up some of that control, but also working with um, other people who are like-minded has been super rewarding. And I kind of hope to continue that process and start looking for new job opportunities that will allow me to work as a kind of small crew or a solo operator.
Do you feel like there is an evolution happening within the industry amongst the people that you've been working with or talking to recently? And if so, where do you feel like this is going? Like, which direction do you feel that you or maybe people you work with, your colleagues, want to push the industry? You mentioned something about working with less incentive for money, but can you go into more details?
Yeah, it's something I think about daily, and I don't know. I really don't know the direction that things are going in. I think uh, people's safety being a priority, seems to me more important than just trying to, I don't know, get business back up and running. So I don't know. I have seen a real embrace from other people in making work that doesn't have an outlet that's defined, or compensation that's defined. When you appreciate other people's time and donate your own, there is this really beautiful symbiosis that seems to be happening. Um, and when I try to think beyond that, I feel like kind of I get overwhelmed. So I haven't been thinking that way. I've been trying to slow it down, trying not to stress out about being overly productive. If I'm tired, I'm gonna take a break. If I'm feeling productive at 1 in the morning, I'm gonna get up and work. It's been a really strange new way of approaching things. So unclear to me where things are going. I really don't know.
Well, one thing that you did mention was this idea of working within the community more, maybe
Yeah.
collaborating more, um, but also maybe finding ways to help the community in different ways. I know community is a pretty broad topic, but how can
Right.
people help out their communities? How can people contribute in a way that is furthering of this ideal, if you will?
Yeah. I I am so excited to see all of the new work that's coming out from people, and in turn that inspires me. And whether it's a reflection upon the kind of current situation, or it's a reflection of their own artistic interests and ideals, I feel like when I see my peers making work and then putting it out on platforms like Relief Market, or other platforms that are supporting artists, to me that feels like a huge step into not allowing this to kind of kill the creative life. And it inspires me to see everyone's work during this time. And I think that in turn makes me have a more optimistic outlook. I mean, I think that there's things that we can do in the community that's not art related, in terms of support of local businesses, and um, running groceries for elderly neighbors, and things of that sort. But I think that, like, as someone whose creative life, it gives them a lot of joy, it's great to see other people continuing on that, and it gives me a ton of motivation. So I just would hope that everyone continues to push and keep making things despite all of the restrictions and odds.
Yeah, I definitely follow up on that. I feel like, you know, your work and the other artists who have been showing work on our shop, and as well as other places that I've been seeing it, have really filled me with a sense of renewed enthusiasm. It's really what's kept me going more than anything else,
Completely,
to think
completely.
that not just are people sharing, but that others are wanting to support that. Um, we're going to keep going with that. And I really want to thank you for joining me to just discuss a little bit about what's going on. I know it's been super weird in so many different ways, but I take a lot of joy in knowing that this is actually bringing us closer to some of the people that we've kind of orbited in our community for years. So thanks, Taylor. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week and weekend, and we'll catch up with you soon. And for anyone else who is interested in learning about Taylor's work, we're going to post some information about how to find his cinematic work as well as his photography in our comments below. So check it out. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll
Thank
see you
you
soon.
so much. I really appreciate you.